Hey guys, this is Colin, and I am live in Las Vegas, live for me, with Joe748 and PirateAP. How's it going, PirateAP?
Good. Running on 2 hours of sleep, but ready to do this thing. Let's go.
You sound like an AP.
I sure do.
How about yourself, Joe748?
Doing well. I feel like everyone is running on 2 hours of sleep this boot camp with all the flights canceling and everything.
Yeah. People flying in from other continents and whatnot. Well, glad that you joined us, even with 2 hours sleep. You didn't sleep through it, so.
Yeah, no. I got a quick little 20-minute nap on the plane here, so that was refreshing. And we're here in Vegas, right? Vegas never sleeps.
That's right. That's right.
Yeah.
Awesome. Well, I'm excited to get into your story. You want to tell us just from the get-go how you heard about how you got interested in card counting and advantage play?
Yeah. Well, so in my entire adult life, I never really been to casinos or done any kind of gambling since I turned 21. And back early last year, me and my ex-partner at the time, now ex, we went to do a little Nevada trip. We're just like, yeah, we want to get out somewhere and go travel a little bit for a few weeks. And so we did a little trip through Nevada. We went to Lake Tahoe and we were trying to see Reno and Las Vegas. And of course, I was like, well, never been in a casino before, never gambled, so might as well give it a go and try it out. And we're in Nevada. So yeah. And then I went into a casino and I played the slots for a little bit, and that wasn't any fun. And then I saw the blackjack tables and I was like, oh, this is that 21 game. And yeah, I played a little bit. And even when I was sitting at the table, I won $50 that night. So that was kind of nice. But even when I was sitting at the table, I was thinking, oh man, how do I play? Like trying to create my own system of, if I just stand on all my 14s, I have less than a 50% chance of busting or whatever. And yeah, it was just like that small little $50 profit got me really hooked. And I was like, I wonder if there's a way to beat this game. And then I looked at Blackjack Apprenticeship, and back then I was like, oh, this is a total scam. And
yeah,
just some guy trying to sell me on a membership,
Yep.
But yeah, and then after that, we went to Las Vegas. Turns out I was playing a CSM machine, which I had no idea was not a beatable game. But the brand new Ploppy and me decided to play that and won about $200 on a CSM machine. So that was pretty nice. And I was like, man, I got to really learn how to make money on this. And I was like, you know what? I'm looking to do something different. I'm looking to quit my job and do something that means me working less hours and having more freedom. And then I said, you know what? If it's a scam, it's $200 down the drain, whatever. And it turned out to be the best investment I could ever possibly make. So
the best.
All right, we're gonna wrap things up there, guys.
The best scam possible. Yes.
Well, that's nice to hear. What were you doing before you got into all this?
Yeah. For the 2 years before that, I got into I won't really go into specifics, but it was social justice related work. It was something I was really passionate about at the time and something that was really rewarding. I was helping people, and that made me feel really good. And I was doing that for, about 2 years, and I enjoyed the work for the most part. It wasn't some kind of corporate job where I was kind of selling myself to some corporation and helping them make money. It was a job that was really rewarding and, gave me a lot of purpose. But I think towards the end of it, I felt really burned out because we were just working on a lot of things. And I just got to a point where I just couldn't do it anymore. I needed to take a break and just do something different. And I've been doing that line of work for many years, even before that, as a volunteer and just in my community. So I was just kind of looking for an outlet. And I know becoming a card counter is a huge different path than what I was doing before. But I think, AP play really gave me a lot of freedom that I don't think I would have in many other jobs. So, yeah.
So when you were looking into, changing your careers and looking into BJA, how confident were you that this thing would actually work and were you even thinking that far ahead or?
I mean, one of the things I saw that was just really enticing is you were talking about the church team and you guys make, as card counter making over $400 an hour. And I was like, oh, wow, that's really awesome. And for me, I wasn't really thinking about the money per se. I was thinking more about, this is how much freedom I could have. If I only had to work 20 hours a month instead of 80 or 160 hours or whatever, I'd be able to have more freedom in that way. Yeah, I guess for me, it was more about the freedom,
Well, moment of truth. Do you feel like you have had more freedom?
Yeah, for sure. It's been really nice.
Even with all the travel and all that?
Yeah, I mean, the travel, I'm full-time. I'm a full-time AP. So I think for me, the travel is mandatory. And, I've burned a lot of my local places. but I'm also making the best out of it. Like I'm seeing a lot of new states this year. I've traveled a lot of new places that I otherwise wouldn't have been able to see without AP Blackjack. And I've had a lot of travel, a lot of swings and stuff like that. But when I'm out in these places and I'm just exploring as well, taking advantage of me being in that place and vacationing and seeing new places, I think it's made me really grateful. So, yeah.
Would you say you have too much freedom? Idle time is the devil's playground.
Yeah, yes and no.
We'll get to that later.
Yeah. I also have another, I don't think I really talked about it much on the forum, but I do also have another part-time job. It's a public sector job. It's like, 10 hours a week. Really flexible hours. It's just kind of a nice way to supplement my income. But yeah, I would say I do have a lot of free time and it's been really nice. So
I have questions about that with part-time job, but I want to back up a little bit. I remember on the forum when you mentioned that you were going to quit your full-time job and go pro. And there was a lot of input, but kind of a lot of pushback, which in one sense, I'm really thankful for. That we don't have a community of people that are like, quit your job, go gamble full time. It's a lot of people that are saying like, hey, you really got to think. I mean, I start every boot camp saying very few people go on to go pro. So I'm thankful but it can be a little too much where it's like, you're an idiot if you're going pro. And nobody said that. But I guess my question is, how did you take all that? How did you process all that? And what was that like getting all that input?
Yeah, no, I mean, I think it was really important. And I really do truly appreciate everybody who talked me out of it the first time. Because I remember early on in my first 20 hours, my whole intention of getting into AP Blackjack was to go full time and have that freedom. And I'm really glad that people talked me out of it the first time. And I know the second time around, I was in a little bit of a better position than the first time, even though it still wasn't ideal circumstances. But yeah, no, I think looking back, all the feedback and all the advice from the pros and the community, I think was incredibly helpful. And I took a lot of that to heart when I went full time, trying to minimize my expenses, playing only the best games possible. And of course, I did end up burning some local places throughout the way, which required me to travel a little bit more. But I will say I got lucky in running well in the beginning, first few months, and I was able to build up my emergency fund. But yeah, I think without the community, I think I probably would have just gone off and done it and probably wouldn't have been successful. So I'm really grateful for that.
So you said that you got hot at the beginning and were able to build up an emergency fund. Was that before you quit your job?
Before I quit my job, I had about 3 months saved up. Now I have about 6 months, which I feel a lot more safer on because I've gone through losing streaks that have gone 2 to 3 months even. And I think if I had not gone beyond that, I probably would have gone bust. Yeah.
And even I would encourage if someone's going to quit their job, 6 months is really nice to have, but even 3 months, it's not like you're, needing to make rent, from the tables,
right?
The first month or anything like that. So what was your whole training process like? How long did that take? What was the ramp from, okay, I'm willing to take a risk on the scam and buy a membership to like quitting the job? How long was that time frame? How many hours of practice and anything else that's helpful for people that are maybe where you were at?
Yeah. When I started, I had done I just hit the ground running because I was just ready to quit my job and just really do this full time. But I think when I started, I had done all the video courses. I'd done the training suite. I really made sure my game was perfect. I started with about $15,000 bankroll, and it was a replenishable bankroll. So that was helpful because that was back when I was still working my other job. And so I was able to put money back into it. But I would say from the time I started to when I went full time, I had about 150 hours in between, I'd say 4 or 5 different regions. And then, I think around 150 hours in, that's when I took the leap.
So 150 hours of table time on top of you trained till you were perfect, at least on software, and then got 150 hours of playing time. And is that when you came to a boot camp?
Yeah.
You were just going full time, right?
I think it was right on the cusp of that full-time transition. Yeah.
So the 150 hours, you said you burned some local places. I'm just curious, are there any, not that you need to dwell on the past, but any regrets or any advice? Do you wish you would have played those locals any differently, or do you feel like, it was just part of the process?
Yeah, I think there's a lot of locals I really was able to milk for a few, tens of hours, which is really nice, including rated play. But yeah, I think one of the things I would say I did somewhat regret was kind of, there are some places where I regret playing rated at. just because back then I didn't really know that they were database participants or anything like that. And I think that's where really networking is really important. One of the things I do now is I'm always just making sure I network with somebody in a new region before I go out and play. But yeah, I mean, I guess I would have minimized my rated play, even though I would say also in some places where I did play rated, I got lots of comps, like free nights, I got match plays, I got all sorts of stuff that really helped on cutting back on expenses. Generally speaking, though, I think I would have played less with a card, less with my ID. So yeah.
So you said that you put effort into networking before you go to a new region. I've been thinking about that because I do phone calls with BJA members pretty regularly every week. And people are saying, yeah, I know I need to start the networking thing, but I don't even know, like, what do you mean by networking? And I could say my answer, but I'm curious, how do you approach that? What do you say to someone newer when you're like, oh yeah, well, I network before I hit the road or whatever?
Yeah. Well, I mean, I think it really is about, honestly, like meeting with other APs, meeting with other people on the road is just like I would say it's like a huge EV opportunity in more ways than just financial, right? Yeah. Just meeting other people on the road, getting their experiences, seeing what they're going through. But I think also it's important to like know what their experiences are like in each region, like what are the, and maybe you're not going to share your honeypot game or anything like that, like where your secret, whole card game is or whatever. But I think getting a general sense of the region and also being there and making it be like an equal exchange, right? Like I'm here and meeting with you and getting a little bit more information on the region. Like if you're ever in my part of the area, like I'm happy to share, what I know about those places. And so I think it's important that folks kind of talk with each other and get information in that way and help each other out.
So let's say you plan to go to a certain city that has like 5 casinos nearby. How do you choose which ones to go to first? Like, do you just kind of look at everyone's past experience and like find the least sweaty one, or is there some other requirements that like how do you pick?
Yeah, usually what I do is I go on 411 and I just kind of scout out like generally what the games are like. And I know in a lot of places, and I know that this is something that's been ongoing. It's ongoing work in the community where people are trying to update 411. But yeah, usually what I'll do is I'll look at the casinos, I'll look at the rules and the conditions and stuff, and then I'll also try to like meet up with other APs in that region to see, what are some updates to that, what are some better shifts to hit up, things that usually wouldn't be more public.
Yeah, I think that's good. Like the meeting up with people before you play is something that I think a lot of people don't think about because it's like you land in the airport, you hit the ground running. But I think it is a really good idea to meet up with other members. And
yeah, Joe, I know you did a lot when you were just on the road full time for a couple of years. You met up with people in every city, and it wasn't just like so you could find out secret games. There was just simply a relational aspect. So can you speak to that, Joe?
Yeah, it was just, I think it's just a natural part of wanting connection. And when you're solo, you're a solo player, right? Or you're not on a team. So it's it definitely gets lonely for sure. And it's just so nice to have a familiar face in X town in the middle of wherever you are. But
yeah, no, for sure. That's the other huge advantage of it too, is just meeting with other people and seeing what they're going through, and being there for each other. It's like if you need to cash out, like I'm here to help you out. And, if you're ever in my area, I'm here to like, share what I know and help you with anything, like if you need it. And yeah, I think that's really important for sure.
Yeah, because I feel like you get burned out on the casino people interaction because they just are generally grumpy towards you and the dealers are just mad you're not tipping and all. So it's really nice to...
Yeah, it's nice to have someone to rant and rave with for sure.
Yeah, glad to hear your guys' thoughts on that. I think it's easy to undervalue that, especially someone like me that I'm not like a natural networker extrovert. So if you're like me, it's still worth it to meet other APs and have that connection. And, as far as like the networking intel side of it, I think simply asking, is there a casino in the city I should avoid?
Right.
People don't ask that question.
Yeah.
And then they play that casino first.
Yes.
And it's like just, you don't even have to say, hey, where's the best place to play? I see that on the chat rooms, like, where do I play? And people might not want to tell you that, but if just simply, is there somewhere that I should not play or I should play absolutely last, could be the difference between a terrible trip and a good one.
Yeah, no, I recently just had my recent trip. I networked with an AP and I was about to make a 2-hour drive. And then I reached out to him and I was like, hey, like, what do you think about X casino? And he was like, oh no, you need to avoid that. It's like really sweaty. Like they're going to flyer you and all that stuff. And made the detour and got in plenty of hours at this other place. I had a way better game. So that's one of the huge powers of networking. Yeah.
So are you like nomad right now, or do you go home every once in a while? Is your job remote, or do you have to go back to your home? And
I have to be in person,
Okay.
3 days a week, but they're very flexible. I can like get days off. I request them well off in advance because I'm already planning my trips a month and a half out. So I'm already, and 100% of the time, 99.99% of the time, they usually approve it. So it's been really nice to have that flexibility.
Okay.
I don't think I would be able to do both if I didn't have that.
How long are your trips usually when you go play?
Last year, I was taking shorter trips, but more frequent trips. So I would do like 3-day trips 3 times a month. But honestly, that got really exhausting. And back at the time, I was in a relationship and that was really hard to maintain, just being gone that frequently. So now my trips are usually 4 days, twice a month. And honestly, that's enough for me. I think if I were to do any more than that, I'd probably go crazy. And I get pretty homesick too. So it's nice to be back home and recharge between trips.
Yeah, I'm interested about, the part-time job. What does that do for you as far as some stability outside of AP play? And then also what does that do for you for financial stability?
Yeah, I would say, the job, I really took it because, well, one, it's a nice job. I really like the people I worked with. It's a public service job, so it makes me feel a little bit better. It's nice to feel like a normal person after the end of a trip and have a normal job, like serving people. So in some ways, it kind of recharges me a little bit. It recharges my soul. But on the financial side, it's kind of like, it's not, my main income comes from Blackjack. It doesn't come from this other part-time job I have. But I think it's helpful to know that I do have a part-time job I can rely on. I can pick up more hours if I need to, if I'm going through a bad swing or if I need to, just get by financially. So it's definitely nice to have that flexibility if I can increase my hours whenever I need to. And in some ways it is going into my bankroll. So it's a small replenishable income.
Do you have any guilt about this type of work coming from such a service or like a public service based job, or is your part-time kind of covering that need or that?
Yeah, it's actually interesting. I've had some people in the community that have really been like, what are you doing now? You used to do all this other stuff. And yeah, it is a little bit different than what I'm used to. And when I tell my, people in my community and my, my friends that I, do all this other work with about what I'm doing, that they definitely have a lot of questions, but I think they understand too when I tell them about it. This is something that I do for the freedom. And in some ways, a lot of them get a little jealous. They're like, wow, I wish I could do what you're doing. But I don't think they see the other side of it, right? The swings, the back offs, the travel. There's a lot of there's the underbelly, the nasty underbelly of AP play too that a lot of people don't see. But I think the job does really help make me feel like a normal person, serving people again. So even though 100% of my income comes from Blackjack, I would say I would still stick around with that job, And even if I decided to end part-time or full-time play, I'd probably want to keep that too.
Yeah.
In my back pocket.
So Joe was saying before you got here, he was excited to talk to you. It seems like you have a very thoughtful approach to how you do things. What are, you said you plan trips 6 weeks out, which maybe not everybody is doing. That is, though, the sweet spot for buying airfare.
Yes.
It's something like 4 to 8 weeks before for domestic. Anyway, a little pro tip for you guys. But
positive EV move.
What have you learned about kind of your approach when you hit a town or how you interact in the casino? Anything you can share with us that you've learned along the way?
Yeah, I think one of the biggest things that I've really been trying to perfect is my act. I think that is so critical. That's just one of those things you just can't learn on BJA. I mean, you can learn the science and the art, the math behind it. Anybody can learn how to count cards, but being able to do that in a casino setting while you're talking with dealers, while people are talking to you, and how do you not act like you're just sitting there and you just have tunnel vision? How do you just blend in with the crowd, and how do you behave like a ploppy basically while playing like an advantage player? I think that's one of the things I've noticed has helped me a lot in just getting longevity. I've been talking with other counters who have had really creative ways of getting in hours, and just their act has just been really inspiring to me, and taking tips and tricks from that and applying that to my play.
So to me, I think it's because I read Burning the Tables in Las Vegas right when I started. I mean, I read Professional Blackjack, and that's just the science, the math of it. But then Burning the Tables in Las Vegas, what I love about the book is how much thought he put into the psychological aspect of it. And if you haven't read that book, just at least read that part of the book where he talks about the casino is the customer is always right. How do I treat? So I guess it just seemed like, of course, I'm going to act like a ploppy and all those things in a casino. But there's been this thread on the forum about kind of like, what was it? Never have I ever, or something like that. It's the things that like card counters typically don't do, and it makes them look like a card counter. But one guy was telling a story about he saw a guy came and sat down at his table, and very quickly was like, he's a card counter. And so he just sat there and played and let the guy act like a robot at the table. And within an hour, he's backed off. And I'm thinking like, hey, good for you. You figured out how to get the edge. But if you know how to present yourself, you can actually get in the hours.
Absolutely. Yeah. I mean, I think that's, it's just something you just, because I mean, I've only spent like, 2 days or, like a few, like maybe 1 or 2 hours in a casino setting before I learned how to count cards. And I have no idea of how people talk, back then. But yeah, through the hours, you hear what people say, you hear how people behave. And, it's one of those like monkey see, monkey do, you just gotta blend in.
So like, what's your personality now compared to how you started out with your act?
Well, currently I'm in a 90-hour downswing, so it's been a lot of slamming the tables.
So method acting that you hate your life and you're pissed off.
Just cussing through the roof, slamming tables, all that stuff. But it makes me look like a degenerate, and honestly, that's what I want them to think. That I'm just there to gamble and I have nothing better to do with my time, and so that's been me mostly at this current moment. But generally, I'm getting up. When I have my max bets out, I'm like getting up from the table. I'm like clapping. When I win the hands, and just talking at the table and just being emotional as I can be.
Yeah, that's good. What's your usual excuse for why you're in this random place in a rural area?
I mean, it depends where I'm at. If I'm in Las Vegas, I think it's generally pretty easy for me. I just feel like, there's a lot of tourists here, and they're just like, oh, I'm just here on vacation, If I'm in a more like secluded region, like that doesn't usually get a whole lot of like tourists who go there to gamble, I'll just be like, oh yeah, I'm just visiting a friend and he's working right now, so I'm just kind of sitting here and waiting until he gets off of work or something, Or, if there's something going on in town, there's like an event going on in town, I'm like, oh yeah, I'm here for X and X. And I'll always try to make sure I do my research to be able to talk about it, because I don't want to be like talking about something and then they're like, oh yeah, so what do you think about that? And I'm like, not knowing. Anything.
You're, I don't know if gregarious is too strong of a word, but you're an extrovert, or you seem to be, and
somewhat. Yeah.
So it works for you. My advice to people listening, that might not work for you.
Right. Absolutely.
It might not work for everyone to be slamming tables and cussing up a storm. But if you just observe in a casino, you see the different kinds of degenerates.
Absolutely.
Yeah. You got the loud degenerate.
Quiet
you got the quiet chasing their money degenerate.
The frat boys.
Yeah. Just be an observer and take on, just accentuate your personality towards the one that you see in the casino, and the things that they say and the way they carry themselves, and that'll go a long way.
Yeah, and there are times when I'm there and I just don't really want to talk either. Like I'm just like I just want to sit here and count. And I think for me that's easier when I'm losing, and the pits know it, the dealers know it, and so I'm just sitting there, with my hand on my forehead, just looking at the table and just playing, and they just let me play because they just know that I'm just going through a really bad session, And so times like that are nice, But yeah, it really just. It all depends on your personality. And I think if you try too hard to be the opposite type of person in a casino, I think that actually stands out a lot more. Like people see that you're you're like trying too hard, in that direction.
Have you ever been like caught in a lie with your story, or like they keep asking you details about why you're there and it just doesn't make sense? Or
I haven't really had that experience yet.
Because I've done that friend thing where I'm like, yeah, I'm visiting my friend. He's working right now. And then 5 o'clock rolls around. I'm still there. 8 o'clock rolls around. I'm still 11 o'clock. And then day 4.
It's like, what happened to your friend, man?
Yeah,
you just
like,
leave.
Are you ever going to see your friend? And
it's like, yeah, man, I got locked out. He won't be back until Monday, I'm going to have to wait until then, I guess.
RX Gamble has a really great blog post about this, the effort that she puts into why she's there. She has answers to, and I think what she says is, the common questions are going to be asked, right. But she has them all thought out. She has if it is in the middle of nowhere, why she's there, and
that's brilliant.
And she's really smart about it. It could be like, oh, a family member passed away, and I have to be here for a week while we sort stuff out, but I just need to get away or whatever. And then they're not going to ask her a lot of follow-up questions.
Right. That's thinking ahead.
I wish I would have put more thought into it back in the day, but I didn't.
Yeah. That is one of the things I try to do now is like have a story, like have a, something that I'm going to tell people. I think one of the other thing too is that millennials don't really look like they're supposed to have money, right? So when I'm like buying in and people are asking me like, yeah, what do you do, man? Like, I tell them, I work in coding, and I'm from California, I'm from a part where is really, that's tech is like a really big thing over there. And so I tell people, I just do coding. I'm a coder. I do, coding for, startup companies, and I can talk a little bit about it because I do have experience doing some coding, but I don't go too much into the weeds, not enough where it's just like, giving them like really specific details.
Along with the funeral story, one worked well for me one time where I just said, I'm here in town. I had to come back to this place because I have a court date. And then they just don't ask any more questions after that. But
you got a court date, you're there gambling.
It was actually a true story, so I was there.
Okay.
And that brings up the point I wanted to make, which is you don't have to just lie your face off. Like both of your stories were true. You just told enough information that they can make up the rest.
Right.
I would say my family owns real estate, which is true. Like not like millions and millions of dollars, but my parents owned a few properties and a few rentals, and so it's true. They can just make up the rest.
Yeah.
But to have a reason why you're there, or those common questions is definitely worth it.
Yeah, for sure.
So next month, look out for the new feature of the website, the BJA Inside the Actor Studio training module.
Nice.
Yeah,
I'm there.
you're joking about the method acting. Like, don't take the act home with you. You can leave the character at the casino. You don't have to be cussing and slamming stuff when you get home.
Yeah, I've been talking with another AP about their act, and they had some really creative ideas. It's like kind of like the sports book act, where you're there, but you're also like you're there for like the sports teams, and there's like they have like the TVs and the sports, and you're getting up and you're like clapping, like I've got money on that person. I thought that was a really creative idea, or like knowing what the local conventions are and just kind of really going with that.
Having a receipt from the sports book, or you don't have to place a large amount. We used to, back in the day, it was you get a Keno receipt. You don't even have to buy it. Like you can find them like on the ground. You have that, and they're like, this dope bets on Keno too. You look the part.
Yeah.
You'd be surprised what little things can change or put enough seed of doubt in the floor's mind. Sometimes, like just me doing like my free play in the slot machine once was enough for the manager, who is really enthusiastic and intelligent about counters, made her question her own education and training. And then she even told me when we got backed off, it was just like, when you went over there and were playing that slot machine for a while, it just really threw me off that first day you were here.
Oh, nice. They actually admitted that?
Yeah.
Oh, that's awesome.
So are there any efforts you put into at this point to avoid burning down a region or a casino?
Yeah. I mean, I'm one of those players where I just like to sit through, because I've noticed that really early on in my career, I've backed myself off a lot. And, I've just learned that that's just it's not really a way I like to play, but I've also, as I raised my stakes, I've noticed the sweat and the heat a little bit more. So and especially if a casino is like a few hour drive, like it's hard for me to like hit and run that place. I'm not going to drive 3 hours just to get a positive shoe and then leave. So one of the things I've just been really working on is just like my act, and how do I behave as much of a ploppy as I can at these casinos and get hours in. And ultimately I've got a spread. I rarely do any cover plays. Maybe every now and then I'll do like the starting the shoe with maybe two hands of 100, after a really wildly positive shoe. But besides that, I mean, I just, I try to just, act as best as I can. And if I get backed off, I get backed off. I think it's just really region dependent too. I take a lot of notes about like what are casinos sweating, so that I kind of make my trip more efficient the next time I go, especially if it's like my first time in a region. So I think just learning the route and like planning routes better, I think is something that I've just learned throughout time and being in regions and doing that. So that's how I've kind of been able to get more hours in.
Have you found any like travel tips or things you've learned along the way, not really casino related, but just as far as just the traveling from place to place, anything that would help out someone else. Like,
yeah, a huge thing that's helped me out is I do hotels.com. It's really useful for like, because you get every 10th stay, you get like a free hotel. That's helped me a little bit. When I'm doing trips, I always do the Southwest travel deals. And by the way, I'm not a paid promoter of Southwest, just a FYI.
Just a paid BJA shell.
Yeah, basically. But I have noticed that's been a huge savings, because if you do like the car rentals and the hotel and the flight, it actually is a lot cheaper than just doing them all separately. And honestly, I would say if you are really smart and do your intel and are really like well networked with people, there are some places that you can go play rated at, which do offer like comped hotels and aren't database participants and are tolerant, will give you hours. But I think that's just really dependent on how well you network with, other APs. And so that's helped me out a little bit.
Man, Colin, your tip for Turo the other day. Oh my, it is so much cheaper.
Turo? What is Turo?
Yeah. Turo is basically Airbnb for cars.
Oh.
So it's just people. So I heard about it recently. I can't remember where, but my wife and I were coming here for a thing here in Vegas, I don't know, a month or two ago. And I was like, well, let me check it out. And rental cars have been expensive lately. And so I looked, and it's been like a bucket list thing. I drive a 15-year-old truck. Like a car is not where I personally can put my money. I don't drive a lot, but it's like a bucket list thing to get some like sweet convertible. And it was a perfect time of year, April in Vegas. My wife and I, no kids. And so I got a Porsche something, GTS, and it was like $100 a day.
Oh, not bad.
Yeah. The guy
drive a Porsche.
Yeah. It was fun, but that's a fancy car. You can I could have gotten like a Yaris or something for $20 a day, or no, I mean through Turo for super cheap. And you figure out where you meet them. It was faster than the Vegas, take the shuttle to the rent-a-car place and wait in line to sign the paperwork. So whatever, people listening, check out Turo, not a sponsor, hashtag no sponsor, but
Hashtag no sponsor.
But I've been telling other people going on AP trips to at least check it out, and it's so far it's cheap and awesome.
Yeah, another few small hacks too, or just some minor ones, is at the rental they always ask you, do you want insurance? And I always say no, because obviously you don't need insurance if you already have car insurance. And then I never do the refill, the pre-fill. They're always like, oh, it's always cheaper over here. And I use an app called Gas Buddy, which I do recommend.
Yes.
And I'm like, hold on, give me a second. I'm like looking at Gas Buddy. I'm like, no, I'm going to pass. Yeah. So they're always trying to upsell you at the car rental. Just don't fall for it.
Yeah. I don't think I'll go back after the Turo. I mean, if you can't meet them somewhere, they'll deliver the car to you like at the airport for a small fee, and it's so worth it.
Yeah, I gotta check it out. Nice.
Yeah. You mentioned at the boot camp yesterday, Joe, the idea of booking the hotel late in the day. Do you want to say why?
Yeah, just if I'm on a trip, I always book the hotel like 11:55 p.m. because if you're at a casino and it's like 9 o'clock, you might be tempted to try to find a place nearby, but you could get backed off in 5 minutes, and then that's 5 hours of time you could have driven to the next casino and stuff. But if you wait till after midnight, then you can't. You have to wait till the next day to get it.
Obviously, if you're going to be in that town for several days, they got multiple casinos. But yeah, if it's some secluded place that
you're really going to want to think twice.
Yeah, about booking it early.
Yeah.
We've had that.
Another thing I would say too is like credit cards, like get a really good credit card, because I've gotten a lot of points back on expenses just from, because you're spending like a lot of money on flights and hotel. I mean, depends on what kind of AP you are. I know APs are just, they live out of their cars and stuff, but I know that if you are flying a lot, you're using rental cars a lot and hotels, like getting a credit card would be nice, because you get all those points back, and that's helped me for sure.
Yeah, I'd want to know, what kind of, you said hotels.com. Yeah, I'd want to know because the Airbnb used to be such a good deal for renting out rooms, and now it's just becoming like more expensive than getting
It's ridiculous.
Well, it's crazy.
I don't even look there anymore.
Yeah, right?
I already assume it's going to be more expensive.
It's become a business where it was, someone just making a little extra money renting out a place. But it's worth at least perhaps checking. Sometimes it's nice being, at least for me, I don't know, hotels can be fine, but sometimes getting away, especially like Vegas. I'd rather not stay in a Vegas hotel if possible. If it's free, sure.
Like a casino hotel, you mean?
Yeah. An Airbnb, I don't know. I feel like a little more human.
Yeah, I get comp nights through one of the because I do have a card with one of the hotel chains, but I don't play rated there. So I do other I do like slot plays or some like other stuff like that. But yeah, I think generally as I've done this longer and longer, the last place that I want to spend my night at the end of a long day of playing blackjack is staying at a casino. So it's actually nicer for me like not be in a casino hotel, like just be away from that setting.
Are you doing anything to like keep yourself healthy on the road and things like that?
I think listening to music has been helpful. Listening to music has been good. I have friends I usually call and talk to. I think also just traveling and just seeing places. And, if I'm just going through a really bad swing, just in the last few trips that I've had, I've done like a lot of like exploring, like just taking a day to just go see the place. And it's been really nice. It's been really therapeutic to just plug away from that for a little while, especially when you're really in the thick of a losing streak.
Yeah, so you mentioned a couple times a losing streak. How's this year been?
This year has been a little rough.
Yeah.
Honestly, I think with currently the way my results have been going, I think this might be my longest losing streak so far.
And you said how long has it been? 90 hours or?
Currently, it's been about 90 hours. My longest one was about 125. But this has been, I think, the most like vicious one I've had so far. Like I think I also raised my bet spread a few months ago because I was able to have like a reduced risk of ruin. And because what I'm trying to do is I'm trying to stagger my bet spread with my risk of ruin and make it like smaller as it's rising. But the swings have been very, it's been pretty crazy. I have mad respect for all the people playing high stakes. I just don't know what it would be. I'd probably be breaking windows and
are you
smashing tables, losing at like 2 spots of 500 or 600 or 1,000.
Have you had to reduce your bet spread?
Yeah, I'm going to have to like look at that and probably scale back a little bit, which really sucks.
Yeah.
I hate to do it.
Yeah, but it's so much better than not doing that.
Yeah.
So, I mean, you're in the positive for your career?
Overall, yeah. I've made 6 figures so far.
So even with this brutal losing streak, it's funny because we do these podcasts and people are always talking about the losing streaks.
Yeah.
And I'm like, but you have made money, right? Oh yeah, 6 figures, yeah.
But it's easy to forget about that when you're in the thick of it.
That's not the point.
I mean, we talked about that. Joe and I've talked about that a lot. That if someone asked us, we feel like we've made a fraction of what we've made because the losses, you feel them so much more, and it's like, well, I'm supposed to win. Like every day, I'm supposed to.
Every single hand.
Any idea how many total hours have you played?
As of my last trip, I actually just crossed the 700-hour threshold.
Okay, nice.
Yeah.
And are you anywhere near the ballpark of EV with?
Currently, I would say I'm about $30,000-$40,000 below EV. But, I'm still like, my chart's still looking pretty, like generally it's an uphill trending slope.
Yeah.
But with the exception.
So 6 figures, how long have you been playing? It's not that long. I feel like your boot camp wasn't that long ago.
Yeah. I started playing early spring of last year.
Okay.
So I'm a little bit over a year now.
So a year, 6 figures in a year. Hey, to be up 6 figures in a year in the midst of a brutal downswing, nice work.
Thank you. Yeah.
And 700 hours in a year, like, well done.
Yeah.
Well done, sir.
Thank you. a lot of hours in casinos. Yeah, it's crazy. It's crazy to think that I've spent that much time in a casino.
Have you had any like mistreatment or harsh backoffs during this 700 hours?
Oh, yeah, I have.
Who were they and what did they do to you?
Yeah, so I've had some nasty trespasses. Actually, my first back off ever was a trespass, which that was an interesting experience. And I had 2 actually really nasty trespasses in this one region.
When you say nasty, like they putting their hands on you?
No, but it was getting kind of intense in the sense that like they were almost trying to keep me on the property, almost try to obstruct me like walking out of the casino.
Keep you from leaving.
Yeah. So there's one casino I played at I had gotten previously backed off of, and I didn't know until after the fact that they were using facial recognition. They weren't a Biometrica subscriber, but they were using facial recognition of some kind. And the time I went back, I was a little bit lazy, which I shouldn't have been with my disguise. But I had gotten no heat. I cashed out. And it was weird because they were asking me for my ID over a certain amount that I usually never had gotten before. And so I figured, you know what, it's fine, whatever, I'll give it. And then right behind me is this like short little like blonde lady, middle-aged lady. She's like, excuse me, sir, can I see your ID? And I'm like, lady, I just gave it to the cage. Like, you can get it from them. She's like, no, I need to see your ID. And you're on private property, and our manager thinks you've been here before. And I'm like denying it. I'm like, no, I haven't been here before. I don't know what you're talking about. And she's like, yeah, well, let me walk you over to him and you can have a talk with him. And it was a guy who had previously backed me off before. And I'm like, you know what, lady, I'm just going to leave. And she was following me. He's like, sir, you need to stay put. And then she's getting on her mic. She's like calling security. She's like, yeah, security. Like, this guy's trying to leave the property. And then at some point,
How dare you try to leave?
Yeah. What is wrong with you? You want to leave a place that's being hostile toward you?
I know I hadn't done nothing wrong. I'm just, doing what I'm supposed to do. But yeah, she was getting really intense. And at some point, she almost tried to walk in front of me to like prevent me from walking off the property. And I was like, yeah, well, what you're doing is illegal. You can't detain me here. I have a right to walk out. And security drove me out. Was driving to my car when I was walking back. He's like, yeah, facial recognition. Like, yeah, don't come back. So that was I would say the most intense trespass I think I've ever had.
But never been physically harmed. I think that's the thing that people are.
Luckily, no.
Yeah.
Have not been touched. They almost tried to backroom me once at this other casino. And they're like, yeah, let's have a talk in our office. And I'm like, no, I'm okay. I'm going to stay right here. And so that was interesting.
And that's the right approach. Say, no, thank you.
Yeah, no, thanks. I'm just going to take these chips and walk away. And I had my mom cash them out, actually. Which was
awesome.
Because she lives in the area. So that was nice.
So we don't have a lot of time left because we still have a boot camp to do today. But there's a couple things I still want to hit. You posted on the forum this rounds per hour study. Do you mind sharing about that and most importantly, your conclusions? Yeah,
I'm a huge data freak. I'm obsessed with data. I think more than a normal person should. But I think when I was in the beginning of my career, I feel like I was really overestimating my rounds per hour. And I felt like, I really just needed to know what I was getting at the table. And so I just decided to go on this crazy experiment of just testing out single deck, double deck, face up, face down, ASM, hand shuffle, just because I just really wanted to know what I was really getting at the table. It's really hard to do that, like to count your rounds per hour. I mean, unless you have the brain built for it, it's like pretty hard.
Well, you can set a chip aside for every round. I've done that before where I was really curious playing double deck. It felt really slow. So for nobody can see this, but I have a stack of chips in my hand. But for every round play, I think I started on my watch or something, a stopwatch, and then played through like two shoes, from the first round through the shuffle of two shoes and just set a chip aside. And then I was able to say, okay, well, that was 10 minutes and we played, 12 rounds. So with a little quick math, 74 rounds per hour? Sorry.
Yeah. I used to do that too. I think that was, I don't know, I felt like that was kind of like weird for me to do, like trying to set aside chips, and then dealers would look at that and like, why is this guy doing that?
I did it for 10 minutes, 12 chips or whatever it was set aside.
It was like a one-time thing.
But yeah, it is hard to know. Once I was on a trip with someone and he didn't know I was in that casino. He came in and he saw me, and so he just stood behind and he counted, and it was really interesting to hear, what he said. But tell us more about the study.
Yeah, well, I just really wanted to know like how fast I was being dealt to, and it turns out, looking back at what I was estimating, which is like it was like some rough numbers. This is before I found out that you had the post.
Yes.
Yeah. So I started using those numbers. But then I really wanted to know, like, what are the single deck speeds? What are like the 6 deck, 8 deck speeds, like the types of shuffles and all that stuff. So for me, I really just wanted to like kind of, take all those factors into account, and also different penetration levels. How does that affect rounds per hour? And I just kind of put it out there and just to share with folks. And it seems to have helped a lot of people. And
what is there any like biggest takeaway from it that you could share with people?
From the study?
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, I think it's just important to just really, because I think a lot of times also, sometimes when counters are playing for a few hundred hours, they see their charts and like, oh, I'm not at EV. Like, what's going on here? Is it my game? Is it, and sometimes it could be their game, right? They may not be playing a perfect game, or maybe they are, but maybe they're just overestimating the rounds per hour or their EV that they're getting at the table. So I think the study was, really important for me, but also hopefully helpful for other folks to just really assess like what is it that I'm really getting at the table, and also maybe even being more on the conservative side of that as well, because there's so many other factors that you can't take into account.
You said that you were overestimating your rounds for like a 6-deck game. What were you estimating before, and then what did you find out with the
stuff? I think I was like estimating, I don't remember now. I think like about 250 rounds per hour.
Oh yeah, yeah.
Which is I definitely when I was doing like the whole chip thing at a 6-deck shoe, I was like that's definitely not 250.
Yeah, yeah. I mean, you can if you're flying heads up. I think the biggest takeaway, just looking at the data, was like, wow, just going from heads up to one other player is a big difference. And if you're listening to this and you can't afford to play through negative counts, don't do it. Like, play slower and protect your bankroll.
Yeah.
But if you can afford to play through negative counts, even one other player, it really does affect the rounds per hour more than you might think.
It's a big deal. I mean, when I was playing, I know there's a lot of places I've been playing at with that face-up double deck, like ASM Shuffle, and I'm like, this is amazing. And every time I'm playing a double deck game now, I'm always asking like, hey, can we play face-up? And, almost about half the time they'll grant the wish. And I'm like, sweet, just raise my EV by like $100 an hour or something like that.
I think something that people don't take into account, and then the computers don't take into account, is when you're trying to estimate, I'm going to have 2 or 3 other players with me, they're assuming that those players play as fast as you.
Exactly.
And you're averaging out, but that's not. They're so much slower.
You've got side bets. Some casinos even have 2 side bets. Yeah, it really does slow.
Dude, yeah, the side bets, big time. The 2 side bets is, what am I doing here? Like, I start questioning my life decisions if I'm stuck at a table with 2 side bets.
Oh, it's grueling. And that's actually one of the things I incorporated in my study too, is like, what does it look like with the side bets as well? And I use the Lucky study.
Nice. Yeah, that's right.
Yeah. So
people can check that out if you have a membership. If you don't, this still should be some good, helpful takeaways. Last question: what's your preferred time of day to play? Because I think you have a little bit of a unique.
Yeah, early on when I lost some of my locals, I got really jaded by playing the day shift because I lost a really good local. And I was playing it for only PMs exclusively. And then I played one day shift and I lost the entire guy, got trespassed. I lost the entire casino. But I think, from my experience, actually, it just really just depends on the casino and just knowing, because every casino is just so different. Like sometimes the PM shifts will be sweatier than the AM shifts and vice versa. I think it just is casino dependent. But I've recently started to gravitate towards playing mostly AMs and PMs. And I think for me, it's just because I just hate being up till 4 or 5 a.m. and getting up late. It's not for me.
Especially with the in-person part-time job, is that transition back and forth. That's got to be tough.
Yeah. That's been hard. I mean, it really just messes it with my sleep schedule. But also one of the things I've been getting into recently too is like trading. I've been getting into trading, and I have to be up at 6:30 a.m. for that. So to have to be up in the casino until 4 or 5 a.m., get up an hour and a half later to do that, is also really hard. So.
Yeah, I was on the first team I was on, one of the guys was a day trader. And so we'd get home from the casino at, 6 a.m. and he'd turn on the TV to, see the markets or whatever. He wasn't like trading after being up all night, but he at least wanted to follow what was going on. I don't know how he did. I mean, it was not often that he was doing both. He tended to like focus on trading for a while and then focus on blackjack. But that's got to be tough to have a sleep schedule like if you're playing nights and then trying to trade early mornings.
Yeah, the only exception I'll make is if I'm getting good conditions. And it's just like, well, I could go to sleep now, or I could just keep playing heads up for the next hour. So sometimes I'll just kind of grind through it and just eat the sleep schedule.
So how long do you think you want to be doing this? Do you want to do more trading, or is this a short-term thing for you, or you want to be a lifer, or how are you feeling about that?
Yeah, I think I really started to think about that a lot more recently. I definitely don't think I want to do full-time AP play forever. I definitely plan to phase that out at some point. I definitely do want to make trading a full-time thing. It's been something I've been working on a working trading system. And so far it's been going well, which is good, starting on a small bankroll. But I think in terms of blackjack, I think it's going to be in my life for a while. I see it also as a huge tool for traveling because there's a lot of places in the world that have casinos. And I'm like, wow, I can just go, even if I'm not doing it full-time, I can do it part-time, but I can use that as like a way to travel and go places and I could play and break even on expenses and then just go spend the rest of my trip just enjoying it, and seeing the country and seeing the world. So I think for me, part-time blackjack, I think will definitely be around for a long time. I definitely don't think I want to do full-time forever, though. It's got its own wear and tear. And
yeah, it is rare for someone to do it for a long period of time. Any final thoughts or wisdom you want to share with people before we wrap it up?
Yeah, I would just say really, I think for me, I really knew what I was getting into. Well, not knowing what I was getting into, but I really knew what I wanted out of AP Blackjack. I wanted to do it full time. I wanted it for the freedom. And I think it's really important that folks, really know why they're getting into it and what they want to do it for. And, whether it's building up a retirement fund or whether it's doing it as a source of freedom, I think it's really important that folks just, understand that, train as much as you can, network with people. Networking has been such a huge part of my success. I feel like if I hadn't had people, the forum, the community, people to talk to, I don't think I would be here today. I think I'd probably have gone bust a long time ago and probably be doing something else. So I think networking and having a community is just so important.
Yeah, I like how you put that, because networking can sound like a self-serving thing, and it should benefit you, but it's not just mutual. That. It's also community. It's also the fact that we're not wired to just be isolate. There are those people that seem to do it, but we're not really wired to just be isolated. So
yeah.
Well, thanks for taking this time with us. Cool to hear your story. I mean,
yeah, thanks so much for having me.
I remember your boot camp like it was just last year, because it was.
Just yesterday.
But it's cool. It's cool to hear what you've done in the last year and the approach that you've had, and that you now have so much to give back. So thanks for sharing with us.
Yeah.
And for everybody listening, I hope you enjoyed, and you can check out more at blackjackapprenticeship.com if you also want to fall for the scam. And
Do it. It's worthwhile.
You just get 5 people under you and 5 people under you.
I get $10 off my membership. So.
All right. Catch you later.